I put an advert in my mum and dad's shop window, window cleaner. Anyone want a window cleaner? And it went bonkers. Literally went mad. And I come down the next morning and mum said, you better look at this, Ian. And there was a long list of people wanted their windows done.
People have all different types of superpowers. Ian's superpower is definitely 100% his neurodiversity. He's had an unbelievable life and he's now on a mission to impart as much as he can so people don't make the mistakes he made, basically. We highly recommend you get to know Ian. He's a fascinating guy, especially his Bullies Window Cleaning Classes YouTube channel. Links for them below. If this is your first time here at the Digital Circus Life by Yellow Tuxedo, please do give us a subscribe. We're a small business looking to tear up our part of the internet, and your subscription to our YouTube channel would be amazing. Also, drop a comment in if what your superpower is on this episode. And without further ado, we'd like to introduce you to Ian. So Ian, thank you for your time. We're going to start at the very beginning. So what is it that you're trying to achieve?
Yeah, I just want to help people, really. I've got to my stage in life and had quite an eventful life and made some sort of like monumental mistakes along the way. So if I can pass any of that knowledge on to youngsters or anyone that's prepared to listen and help them avoid those mistakes and be able to just kick on to the next level each time, then that's what I want to achieve via, my various other outlets that I've got going.
I thought both of us have got to go on, Emily. You can go.
Has that always been part of your makeup to want to try and help people?
Yeah, I mean, my life's quite mad. I mean, when I was a youngster, Mum was always taking me to the doctors, and I was not like other kids. I was quite hectic, like really driven, off the chart, wearing people out. And Dad, as a youngster, he just instilled things into me, like my work ethic and I had to do sport at like 10. I was out running with him and always did sport, and then went on and I did all sports, but the one that stuck was a racing cyclist, and I was a racing cyclist for about 10 years. Wow. And like, we come from like council house background. I had no money. I just used to walk to the library and get books out on cycle racing and stuff like that, and learned how to do it, and then saved up my money and bought all the bits, and then just went out and smashed records that have stood like 40 years I've set. And wow. I won quite a bit, and then I wanted to go on to become a professional racing cyclist, but my dad said, no, you've got to get a trade behind you, which that era, that's what a lot of parents did, I think. So, I had to go off and do an engineering apprenticeship, which, I didn't really want to do. But yeah, it's just, as a youngster, Mum was always taking me to doctors, going back to that bit. And obviously in the 60s and early 70s, they didn't have a clue about autism and things like that. So at 10 years old, they just put me on Valium to calm me down.
Oh, wow.
And yeah, that didn't work. So, then I was fine. All the time I was channeled. So I would be channeled doing my cycle racing, my training and all that. Then I kicked on and did my apprenticeship, and I was absolutely fine. And obviously, because I was racing till my early 20s, I didn't drink. I've never done drugs, never smoked. And it was when I gave up cycle racing, I did that bloody apprenticeship that I didn't want to do. And I gave up cycle racing, and then I just started drinking. And that turned me like Tigger on acid. I mean, wow. I was bonkers anyway, but you put like 6 beers in that and everything used to go like, I'd wake up places I shouldn't be with people I shouldn't be and think, how am I going to get home and what happened? And, which is bad enough when you're young, but then when you're a bit older and you're married and then you're with children and it's still happening, and so it was just a case of working out how to manage what was going on in my head. And I learned like a management system, like I stopped drinking, that cleared it, loads of it up. I meditate, and I threw myself just into reading and audiobooks now, not reading, audiobooks now. And so I learned how to channel myself back in again. So, but that I've condensed like 40 odd years into like a minute there. It's, so those mistakes that I made along the way were like horrendous, like 2 failed marriages. And then like the second one was I walked away with a bag of clothes at 49, and I bought a holiday home and lived in a holiday home, and there was probably not far off $1 million I walked away from there. I lost a lot of money on that one, but I just had to run away with this bag of clothes and like regroup and then go again. So all of this was before I really knew what triggered, what was up with me really. And it wasn't until I met my third wife and she drilled down, and she knows some nurses in that industry, and they gave me the tests. I don't want to get anyone in trouble, but they gave me the test. I've done the test. So I came back, I was all singing, all dancing, Rain Man. And I've actually, funnily enough, the doctors called me yesterday and I've got the official tests to do, like now. So they'll be handed in this week, but it's the same as I've already done. So yeah, it's learning how to deal with Asperger's and ADHD, and learning how to manage it. And that's, when you're young in the 60s, 70s, nobody knew about all this. So you learn self-management techniques. You learn how to deal with it all. And as I said, everything was fine until you added alcohol to me. And I wasn't horrible. I wasn't like violent or anything like that. I was just like a firework. You never knew what was going to happen. And it was, all my friends and like my wives, they found it really exciting to be around. But when it's you, and like the next day you wake up and it's like, whoa, what happened there? And you just like, and when that goes on for years, it's so destructive. So
what bit where'd you start, Emily? Where do we start?
Just remind us, for the purpose of our audience, how old are you, Ian?
60.
You're 60, and you're going through this diagnosis now at 60, which is remarkable to know you've got through 60 years of life and are finally getting some sort of resolution, if that's for the best word. Is it liberating to now have a label on it, to know that's how you tick, or are you struggling with that as a diagnosis?
No, I'm really pleased with it. My mum isn't. Mum is, because mum's like, we knew. She feels quite bad that she couldn't do more, but she couldn't do more then. But yeah, me personally, I'm really pleased with it all.
Good.
Yeah, I'd like to get a certificate and take it to my 2 ex-wives and say, there you go.
It's not about the label, is it? It's about the clarity that comes from knowing, you know, and the understanding and the knowledge and all of those other elements that come from it.
You're not the first person we've spoken to over the last couple of months who have had a later in life diagnosis. And again, it doesn't change anything. It's just how you are. I think when you start to explore your brain, you understand what makes you tick a bit more. Like we have another friend who's a VA who she doesn't like crowds, and she struggles with dealing with the noise of chatter of just that crap. Just deal with it. She was getting very frustrated by it, and the minute she understood, it was actually because that's just how her brain works. She's managed to put mechanisms in place to allow her to thrive rather than kind of deal with feeling stressed and unhappy with what's in front of her, when actually it's nothing that she can do. It's just her makeup. So what I want to kind of explore, because that's really, really fascinating, and I didn't know that until we had today's interview, was a lot of people who might be neurodiverse in 2023, we see that as a superpower, actually, rather than it being a hindrance or a problem or a disease or anywhere that people may use associated with autism. It's a superpower. And if you look back at your life now, can you see trends in how you've operated over the last few years as to how that has been your strength?
100%. The most noticeable is my memory. My memory for figures, dates, times, numbers, things like that. And that's where, the nickname, they used to call me Rain Man or whatever, because it was anything. If anyone wanted to know what happened when and how, just ask Ian. It was always just ask Ian, and I'll just go, I don't know how it works, but it's all up there, and I just can get it just like that. So believe it or not, it's a silly little thing. I tried for years to get on Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, because it's easy when you're in that chair, but it's getting in the chair is the most difficult bit. So getting picked to go on the show is difficult enough, and then getting in the chair, it's just speed. So all I had to do was get picked, and I was home and dry. But trying to get in there was so. Yeah, that was a silly little thing, but I've always wanted to try and use it.
I think that's exciting. Right? Do you know the film Limitless? Have you ever seen the film Limitless with Bradley Cooper?
No.
Right. So he takes a drug in the film that allows him access to the entirety of his brain on the assumption or presumption, I don't know the detail, that day to day we don't actually use that much of our brain. And it feels like you're in that superpower world where actually you have access to more of your brain. And there's a sub point here of alcohol, right? I love a beer. I absolutely love a drink, quite happy. But if I'm really brutally honest, if alcohol was invented today, it would be seen as a drug and not actually that positive and everything else. And I find it interesting that was kind of almost a dampener or a road hump, whatever word you want to use, in the exploratory of your superpower.
Yeah.
I find that.
So you have your window cleaning business. How long have you had your business?
Well, hold on. We can't jump to window cleaning. We've got to start with professional, and we've got to start with racing cyclists.
We do. We absolutely. We have that power.
I like to start at the beginning, Emily.
I'm curious to get from this incredible potential career in sport, which you didn't end up pursuing, which is absolutely totally fine for whatever reasons they were. We'll come back to that, Alan. I've got it in my head. I've got a whole flow of how this conversation. But I'm curious to know, at what point did you start your window cleaning business?
I was, I just because I just wanted to get out of what I was doing, which was mechanical engineering. And I just wanted, so I did my apprenticeship and then I did another 2 years on top of that. And then they started offering voluntary redundancy in 1985. I was 22. So I took voluntary redundancy and then I just literally threw myself into anything. Mum and Dad had a shop, a general store and off license in Fareham. So I helped run the shop. I did all sorts of jobs, selling exterior wall coatings door to door. I worked in a mortgage and insurance company, trying to be an associate doing that. That wasn't me doing that rubbish. And it was, I worked for a plumbing and heating firm doing site work. I did all sorts. I'd help a mate set up a double glazing business. And I wanted the physical thing because I loved it. So I looked at the Royal Marines and I went up and I was looking at it all and I'm thinking, right, that is what I'm going to do. So as I was getting ready to do that, I put an advert in my mum and dad's shop window, window cleaner. Anyone want a window cleaner? And it went bonkers, literally went mad. And I come down the next morning and mum said, you better look at this, Ian. And there was a long list of people wanted their windows done, their customers. I had no gear. So I'm like in the garage. Dad had this rickety old ladder with rungs missing that was wonky. It was really dangerous, old wooden ladder. Old builder's bucket, a sponge, and it's squeegee from the shower. And that was it. I was in business. And I was walking up and down the road, doing this job, chatting to people, giving me money. And I'm like, there's no one having a go at me. There's no one telling me what to do. Because I work to very high standards and tolerance. And I can sort of like, so I know what I'm doing is good because the feedback I get. So I don't need someone in the background telling me what to do. So there was nobody there to give me any grief. It was just dealing with the customers and it worked. It worked. And literally it just, obviously way before the internet and all that stuff, it just had your van. I was walking to start with, then I had a Nissan Sunny with a roof rack. And then all I had was my landline. You had no mobiles, internet, nothing like that. I had a typewriter with one of the letters missing and a biro in the missing letter. So mum and dad by this time had just sold the shop and moved to this bungalow at Leon Solent on the beach. So I moved down there with them for a little while and literally within, oh my word, it must have been it was less than a year. They had a dealership on the corner and I bought a van, a brand new van, then bought another brand new van. It's really embarrassing. I know I don't know if you've seen it, but it's really embarrassing. It was I had two brand new Yugos. Now, mate, if you've ever like seen a Yugo or been in one, it's like a wheelbarrow with a motor, like horrific things. But anyway, I had two of these brand new vans. I got them signed, written up, and this was just before it was the height of the property boom in the mid 80s. So property was going through the roof. I thought I need to get a property. So I literally would you had to queue up for new builds. They were that scared. So it was a place opposite Fareham Creek. There was some brand new flats being built. I thought I want one of them. So I'd go out with my friends, get smashed. They'd drop me off there about 3 in the morning, and I'd join this queue. And I queued up. They opened the door, missed the first phase by 1, and then went along the next week, and then got on the second phase, and then that's when I bought my first property. And literally within a few months, interest rates went up to 17%, 16%, and the recession came. So that was my introduction to buying property. But before that, when Mum and Dad were selling the shop and bought this bungalow, I'd literally done everything so fast. I think I'd bought out 4 other window cleaners in this time. So I'd gone from walking up and down the road in a matter of months to 2 brand new vans, bought out 4 other window cleaners, and then bought a brand new flat. And that was that one. That was that one. So
that's great. Hold on. I want to cover something because someone emailed about this today. You know that feeling you just said when you went into the shop the next day and your mum said there's a long list of people and you went out and they were giving you the cash and you said, this is the bizarrest feeling in the world. People are giving me cash. There's no one telling me. It is. But I remember my first business was a marquee business and our first job was a wedding marquee and the deposit was a cheque for £4,000. And I'm stood in a field. I don't think we even owned a marquee at the time. We, a bit like you, we were just, and Emily's first business, there was no overheads. We just started advertising and selling and then went, okay, better buy some equipment. And yeah, I got handed this check for 4K in the middle of a field and went, oh, blimey, we better put a marquee up in I think it was like 6 months.
But it's about saying yes and working out how to do it afterwards, is it sometimes? A couple of things there.
It was so much, Emily. Where are you going to start again?
When you talk about your colourful career path, we call that a portfolio career. Portfolio career, definitely, because all of those things have led to you. And what I also think, from my observations, and Alan might agree there, Ian is a perfect example of someone being in a flow state.
Oh, okay. We've been talking about this quite a lot recently.
We've been talking about don't think, just do. And you are proof in the pudding, Ian, of someone who's not overthinking the process, but is very aware of where you want to get. And actually the idea of you standing and getting that property and getting onto the property ladder then and going out and just putting that advert out and walking down the street and worrying about your equipment later and getting that second van. You are a prime example of someone just doing with absolute grit behind you. It's amazing to see that.
No, it is because I feel I should elaborate on my theory because it was wrong. That's why I'm going to. So my theory was I'm an overthinker, which some people say don't say an overthinker, just say you're a thinker. And I presumed there must have been people who didn't overthink and just kind of went with it, right? And I've been thinking about this quite a lot recently. And then all of a sudden, this term flow state came up. I don't know, however long ago it came up. And you start thinking about it. And yeah, I don't think there's an overthinker and a non-thinker. I think there's flow state and kind of not in flow state. Because when I'm in mine, when I'm running, I get in it. And also in the business, things happen and you go with it and you take it up to a ceiling, then you have to revisit it or perhaps, wait for it, whatever you need to wait for, and then you get back in it. It just sounds like your neurodiversity, I believe I meant to say in 2023, has allowed you to kind of stay in that flow state for much longer periods of time because basically you're Rain Man.
You can track that.
The mental illness, yeah,
absolutely.
But you can track that back to your sporting days as well. When you were cycling, you didn't just go cycling, as you said. You set records. You pushed yourself to the limit of where you could get with that until you got to could be set up, could be professional with that. So you didn't just cycle. You cycled, man. You got to that next level with it. So a lot of people wouldn't go as hard as you go with things. Now, bring that back to your neurodivergent.
Hi, dog.
Hi, is that a dog or a cat? Dog. Hi, dog. If anyone can't see this, there is a black dog on the screen
Bob,
right now.
one.
Bring that back to you grew a very successful window cleaning business. If you look at your business now, you are not just doing houses down your local street. You're there going at larger properties. You've got a very distinctive type of client that you tend to work with now. Again, you're not just an average window cleaner. You are that next level window cleaner with a team behind you and everything else you're doing with that now, aren't you? So, Mike, it's something I can see. You started your business way before the internet, but it's proof that actually the internet is not the be all and end all of growth of your business. Would you agree?
It's communication, 100%. And I'm glad I came up in the era that I did, you know.
Expand a little bit. I'm curious to know what you mean by that.
Well, I think the internet and everything is fantastic. It's another level. But I think people that are born into it now struggle when they're away from that. And it's, you know, I feel for them. It's not their fault. It's just the era they've been born into. And it's you know, I don't know. It's an art, isn't it? Communication. And it's a silly little thing. It's like where we grew up in quite rough areas, you learned the art of negotiation as a toddler, because if you didn't, you'd get beaten up.
How old school is that? So true. It is so true. Yeah.
You'd get duffed up if you didn't learn how to talk your way out of situations. So you were learning to communicate all the time. These days, landlocked. They're in that bedroom on whatever they're on, whatever device, and that ability to communicate it's not really there. And it's down to even handwriting. You know, handwriting's affected because they don't write these keypads. And you know, so I'm glad I was brought up in the era that I was. But the internet now it's just awesome, isn't it? I mean, everything's at your fingertips.
It is awesome, and it does unleash a whole new world of opportunity that we like to talk about a lot. But I think going back to that community, we've got a businessy friend we know called Adam Carley, Touch Sky Designs, and he's done a couple of sessions for us. And he basically says, how do you expect to kind of grow your business? And you have to take this with a pinch of salt, right? But how do you expect to grow your global business when you're not even kind of prepared to chat to your neighbor?
Yeah.
You know, what's your neighbor's name?
Yeah.
So who lives both sides of you? What do they do? How do you think you're going to do it if you can't get those foundations right of talking to people and saying hello and everything else? We had actually, I love this example because I think it shows old school and new school world. But we were at an after school club the other day, and a mum came up to me. I wear yellow everywhere. Like, we wear yellow on the school run. People know us as the yellow family. We wear yellow, absolutely. And we're quite chatty and polite. You know, we say good. I have this thing that if I'm going to pass you twice a day, 4 times a day, because we walk through the park there and back, I'm saying hello to you, right? So I'm not just going to be a face in the park. I'm saying hello to you. Anyway, this mum comes up to me and says, "Oh, I saw you. You were tagged in the PTA Facebook group. What do you do? Because I run my own business and could do with a hand with something." And I was like, brilliant. If I've ever seen an example of kind of, you know, chatting to people, being your brand, being that kind of community, communicating, and the modern world internet, it was that example right there. And I don't think everyone factors in the potential that is available from having, you know, utilizing a bit of both.
What is it about your window cleaning business that sets you apart, do you reckon?
I think it's a lot about my makeup, the way I am, and just getting things right. And then always, I never, like anything I did, I never wanted just to do it. I wanted to do it, if you know, and, you know, do it. Everything I do, I try to do to the best of my ability. So it was, and then that's what's kicking on with the other stuff I'm doing, you know, becoming the best version of yourself you can be. I think I just always, I put myself in an area where there was affluence. So the market there, you know, was that type of market to start with. And the reason I went out that way is because I did so much of my 10 years of training out there on my bike. So I was always out that way on my bike, and I saw what was there. I loved being out there. Yeah, that I probably got drawn out into that market, and I noticed that because obviously when I was starting, I worked for somebody else who was really kind to me, and he let me have his staff and he let me have time off to build my own thing. He was really good to me, but I looked at other people and I saw that I could do things better. So I looked at how they did it and I thought I'd just do it like you, but better. So I'm not one of these with a huge ego that looks at everybody and says, I'm the best. I'll look at somebody and I think I've taken a little bit of something from so many other companies where I've looked at them and thought, that's really cool what they do. I'm going to copy that. So it's the same thing. If you see something that's really cool, well, why don't just sort of like, and it works, just copy that. So yeah, and then I wanted to get into that market, and where also the communication and the trust is there. So you build up a rapport over 38 years. Some of the customers I've had, you build up a rapport where you're almost like part of the family. You've seen all the family grow up and have children and things like that. So you're left in these huge buildings and you're on your own in there or with people, your guys, for like days or a couple of days, and no one else is there. Maybe a housekeeper will pop in or whatever, but it's the trust. So that's what I liked. I didn't like just, there's nothing wrong with it, but going on and doing what all the other guys do, which is just banging out estate work and things like that for tuppence halfpenny or whatever. I'd rather go in, be valued, and do a fantastic job, and then get rewarded how you should be rewarded,
accordingly. Yeah. I do feel, even though you've given quite a long explanation there, I do sort of feel you glossed over at that part. You went.
Glossed over. I actually forgot the question.
Well, so did I, but I'm all right with that. I always see questions as kind of a rough direction, because it's much better to see where the conversation goes, isn't it? Yeah. No, but the bit for me was like you were saying, you were doing the local houses around where you were, where your parents' shop was and everything else. But then you said, oh, I wanted the kind of, being blunt here, I wanted the bigger houses because I know they're going to pay more and everything else. So I moved in, circling around those more affluent areas. I know other businesses who would love their version of that, where they're hanging around in the low ticket world and they would love to get to the bigger ticket world. And once again, I think that's that old school world of just being able to then move in that circle. I don't know if that translates directly online, actually.
I think it does, Alan, but I think, Ian, you're such a diamond, right? I don't know if you probably do recognise you're a diamond, but you are such a testament to you, what you've done in your business and how you've grown it. And actually, people should learn to be a little bit more like you with that. And it's about not overthinking, but also if you want something bad enough, no one else is going to do it for you. No. You've got to be the one on your bike cycling to those places and checking it out. And having those conversations. I think if that's a learning for anyone to this who's listening to this podcast, no one else is going to bloody well do it for you. All right. No. So if you want something, if you have growth aspirations, if you want global domination, if you want to have a wider pool of people, if you want a different market to work with, if you want a new customer, bloody well make it happen. Go and have those conversations, know what you want, and be driven enough to go and get it. Would you agree?
Well, that's brilliant what you've just said, because quite often people say to me, oh, you're lucky. It was easier in your day. In the 80s, it was easy to start a business. And I just said, there's only one major difference between you and me, and you're lazy and I'm not.
Yeah.
And that's being polite. There was two guys last week, two other window cleaners, and there was one that looked quite smart. He'd had a bit of a tough time, but he was smart. And I zoned in on the conversation from about 40 meters away, and I heard what he was saying, and I was looking for another franchisee. So I heard him, and there was another guy with him, and I just forgot him, and I locked straight onto this guy, and I said, hi, he'd heard of me, he knew who I was and whatever, and I said, would you be interested in becoming a franchisee and this, that, the other? And the other guy said, yeah, what about me? I could do some work. And I said, you look like a bag of shit, mate. And there was no easy way, so I just had to tell him, because they looked, they were the same age, they'd probably come from similar backgrounds, and one just had this nonchalant look about him, just looking like a ragtag outfit. And the other guy didn't have a lot, but he was smart and altogether, and his attitude, everything about him, the way he dressed, his hair, his little van, everything was the best at what it could be. And the other guy just didn't care, and you could see that. 40 years nearly of looking at people, you get you, and I'm just like, no, mate, you're just an idiot. He's cool.
And you can work with that, can't you?
Yeah.
And we've talked about this in the past about hiring people if we were to go larger than our particular size of business. But it's about the fact that you may not have the skill set, but if you've got the right mental attitude. And that personal responsibility, the pride in your appearance, all of that goes so much further than having all the A levels or the qualifications.
You can teach people how to do the stuff, but you can't teach them the right attitude. Well, you can to a certain extent, but but if they turn up with it, then you're winning already.
100%. And it's I would say any area of life, if you want to do life well, you have to have the ability to get up when you're knocked down. And so many people haven't. They're just like, oh, woe is me. It's always someone else's fault, isn't it? It's always, you're the only person that's got the power to change you. It's always you. It's your attitude that's created your environment. It's nothing else, is it? It's your attitude. So if you're a kid and you're brought up being put down all the time, you're going to be like that. And you'll be like that to the people around you, won't you? And it's putting people down all the time. You only need one person to put an arm around you and say, do you know what you're doing is quite good here. Yeah. You feel like $1 million, don't you? And it makes the next 10 years easy because someone just that one person's believed in you. May not even be your parents. Might have been someone walking down the street made us a comment. But that's all the fuel you need just to go, and off you go again, don't you?
Great, totally agree.
It is. And you know what, Ian? The thing is, you're saying that, pardon me, it's such a simple thing that we can all do.
Yeah.
To everyone, whether we see someone in the street, on the bus. I mean, we have this great British thing that we're quite nervous about being nice at times and things like that, which is absolutely ridiculous because we all want it, but we're not always happy to do it. I mean, loads do. I'm generalizing, obviously, but it is absolutely within our gift, within our power to say those nice things to the people around us. And actually, I have to say, in our small business world, there is a lot of positivity. And it's quite funny because when I speak to my mum, and I can say this because I know she won't listen or watch this, when I speak to her mum, and my mum's stuck at home, she can't get out at the moment, and she watches a lot of YouTube. All I get is the world is in such a bad place. Everyone's, everyone's so rude. Everyone's in a rush. Everyone's this. And I'm like, Mum, how many new people did you speak to today? Was this all off YouTube? And I'm like, and in my world, our world, this kind of small business, quite happy, polite, friendly, supportive world, everyone's lovely, and it's the bizarre, and everyone's supportive.
But we're of the same kind of caliber, aren't we? We all have that same drive and why we're doing what we're doing versus someone who might be in a traditional employment as well. We are
and unhappy with what they're doing.
It underpins what we do. Now, you just mentioned YouTube, and I want to kind of segue very briefly because I'm very aware of time, and we have a final question after this question. So, you're 60, Ian. I just want to hammer that home again. You're 60. You're awesome.
Well, I don't think you're meant to ask ages in 2023, Emily. It's not very PC.
I think it's relevant, but
age is irrelevant. Just a number.
That picture there, that was my 60th birthday for my other half, and that is an original copy of the Financial Times from the day I was born.
That's
brilliant.
Very cool.
That's brilliant.
I like that.
But
sort of
why I'm bringing this home as well is that you've just started a new project on YouTube, and it's another string to your bow. And just like everything you've said in the last half hour or so, you are going Charlie Big Potato with it in terms of what you're trying to achieve with your YouTube project. Do you want to briefly just explain what it is you're trying to do right now? Because again, it's something that's quite new to you in terms of your skill set as well, isn't it?
Yeah, this is Bullies, isn't it?
Yeah.
Bullies, yeah. So this is masked under the thing as Bullies window cleaning classes. So, but basically what it is it's non-stop life hacks. So it's what I would tell myself 40 years ago if I knew then what I know now. It's exactly that. So my stepson, bless him, he's had 12 years of me, and we've put him in the RAF, and I've set him up a Hargreaves Lansdown account, and I'm investing his 10% of his money every month, and that will be worth X. And all these things I wish I would have known. So this is all I'm doing. I'm teaching people how you can do what I've done, just to be able to get on and make a difference. You can create a little tin pot business. You can employ a handful of people. You can have a nice place to live. You can provide money so that you've got passive income coming from when you're a little bit older. All of these things I know how to do now. So that's what Bullies is about. Bullies is, as I said, it's mastered around creating a window cleaner business, but it can be any business, a product, a service, any business. So it's basically how to get on in life, no matter where you come from and what you've got going on in your life. With a positive mental attitude and the right support, you can go on and do it and make a thing of life and do okay in it. You don't, So that's what it is. It's just to help youngsters, or anyone that has been through. Because obviously, chatting here, that some of the things that I've been through and done and whatever, they're just really, really not nice. They're horrible situations that people don't talk about, but I've done it and I've been in those situations. And so I can just advise people, look, if you go down that route and you think you're all confident and you're going out with your friends all the time and you're doing this and whatever, this is how it's going to pan out. That is what is going to happen. Trust me. It's a bit like a Christmas Carol, He takes him round and he says, this is what is going to happen to you if you don't change. Well, that's exactly how I feel. It's like, if you don't change, this is going to happen. Nailed on. That will happen. Now, I survived it, right? But you might not be strong enough to survive it. There's plenty that don't. Look at the mental health issues in the country with suicides and things like that going on. Some of the things I've been through, it would be easy to just pull the plug and just end it. But something in me, personally, I don't know. I just was strong enough to drive on and get through it. But some poor people aren't. They get a kick, they get something goes wrong, and then they get a catalogue of things. They're done. But I can teach you how to come back from that and then how to go on without making more mistakes. So that's what I want to do. And that's what Bullies is centered around. Bullies is centered around life hacks to help you progress through life and lead a safe and happy life.
I love that, absolutely. I also have this mental image of Ian Ball, the ghost of Christmas Future, in all your marketing. I absolutely love
Christmas
that.
is coming up slowly when we're recording this. So,
Alan, do you want to lead? Well, I feel like.
Well, the problem is I've got 1,000 questions, but I think we're going to end it. We can always do more, can't we?
We can always do more.
We've got quite a few who we may revisit one day. So the question is, and I think we might know the answer to.
Quick, because I'm wasting away here.
You are right. Let's go, Ian. So, question is, if you could go back to your younger self, and I think we might know what you could say here, what would you say to your younger self?
The main thing would be invest 10% of your money, whether it's profit from your business or your salary, into the S&P 500, into an index fund.
Can I just say, there's a clear difference between what men say for that question and what ladies say to that question, because mine would be pretty much my version of what you just said. So it's fascinating. I find the difference.
Can I just jump? There's two.
Go for it.
Don't chase women. No disrespect, Emily. You look a lovely lady, but
thanks.
Don't chase. I'm on about when you're youngsters.
Yeah.
Don't worry. I've always said to my offspring and my stepson, don't chase money. Don't chase girls. Concentrate on yourself. Don't drink and never do drugs. And concentrate on yourself and move forward and move forward. Pick something you enjoy and try to turn that into a business. Get into investing. Start doing good things. Keep going. And then suddenly you look up and all the people you wanted in your life are actually there. It's the maddest thing. I never tried to fit in. I've always tried to just be me. So never try to fit in. If you try to fit in, you're basically molding your character around what you think people want you to be. If you're the maverick, if you're just yourself and you're driving forward doing your own thing, I always gauge it. The more people that are slagging me off, the better I know I'm doing. Because you're looking up, and all of these fears and phobias are born out of the unknown, aren't they? So people will look at you, and because they're lazy or scared to do the things you're doing, they just rip into you, the naysayers, and they attack you all the time. So as a kid, just concentrate on yourself. Try and be the best version of yourself. Don't worry about fitting in with the crowd, because all the right people, you will attract all the right people if you just focus on yourself and moving forward.
Love it.
Ian Ball.
I know.
Can I just give you? Can you ring me tomorrow morning and give another pep talk,
Yeah,
please?
can we have
I think everyone needs a little Ian Ball on their shoulder for their
7 a.m.
for their
pep talks,
daily
please.
pep talk of just winning at life and doing it so bloody well. Ian, you're an absolute dime. You really, really are. And a colourful past you may have had, a challenging one you may have had, but what a roller coaster!
Well,
you've
it's
had.
all made you the person you are today. That's the key part, isn't it? So,
Thank
Ian,
you.
look,
Say some really nice things.
You're beautiful.
thank you so much for sharing with us. It's been an absolute pleasure. Take it easy, all right?
And we'll see you next time, guys.
Yeah,
Thank
bye.
you. Bye-bye.